Meditation is a technique of training your mind to become familiar with something. Maybe that's weird. Like maybe you're like, nah, I never heard of that before. I think it's just relaxing, right? Relaxing is a part of it. But meditation as a whole is all about training your mind to become familiar with something, right? Familiarization is a very key component of everything that you do, right? Maybe you don't realize that, but it is. If you think about it, right? Like, how easy is it to get angry? Like, you're walking down the street having a good day, right? Somebody says something to you, bam, angry. You didn't try to get angry. It just happens. It's almost as if it comes naturally, right? What about being really patient? What about being really patient? Does that come naturally? We got to try to be really patient, right? Like, we have to actually be like, okay, take a step back. I got to really try. Like, it doesn't seem to come as natural, right? And this is all because our mind is a lot more familiar with getting angry than it is with being patient, right? We have our moments where we can be patient, but in general, it seems to take more effort, right? What your mind is familiar with plays a very large role in what your day is like. It's a cool little thing to think about, right? Oh, a lot of first timers. This is wonderful. Just had lower back surgery. All right, I'm gonna try to get you nice and relaxed. I hope you're feeling a little better. Okay, so essentially the end goal for meditation is to familiarize our mind with like good stuff, right? Patience, being peaceful, being calm, happiness, being kind, like all these things are pretty good, right? Kind of, these are things, if we had a choice, we would want to choose to be those things. Well, we actually do have a choice. We can train our mind to become familiar with those things so that they arise naturally, right? That's kind of our goal, right? So today, we're going to look at 4 steps of like how to actually meditate, because regardless of what topic you're meditating on, whether, it's, and we'll talk about what kind of things you can actually meditate on. Spoilers, it's pretty much anything. But regardless of what you choose, the steps are really the same. So if you have a good foundation of the steps, well, then you can really take meditation as far as you want to go with it, right? And these 4 steps are, drum roll, planning, relaxing, that was a good one, investigating, and then familiarization, or familiarizing. I should have used another ing to keep it in, to keep the pattern going. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the first 2, right? They're kind of like a group, and then we'll do a short breathing meditation, right? And I'll guide us through it. If it's your first time, don't worry. All right, we're gonna go over everything. This is a great first class to be at, and then we're gonna look at the other ones and do another short meditation, kind of tying it all together. Does that sound like a good plan? And ask me questions the whole time. You don't have to like wait for me to stop or something like that. Just type any questions you have in the chat, and I'll put my email in the chat later, and you can email me any questions that come up afterwards. Very cool. Okay. Away we go. So step 1 is plan. Anybody like planning? I don't, but a lot of people do. My wife loves planning. She's very good at it. I've never been very good at planning, and so this part has always been a struggle for me, right? But essentially, when we're starting a meditation, right, whether it's gonna be 30 seconds, we want to decide what we're going to meditate on, right? What we're going to meditate on. You don't like planning, but you're very good at it. Wow. I guess in the end, that's good. So we want to determine what we're going to meditate on, right? So like if let's say you're going to study for like a math exam or something like that, right? Well, you should pay attention to math. It's also good to study science and history and stuff like that. But like for the math test, you want to study math. That way you're nice and plugged into math, right? So that's what we're going to try to do here. Our mind is very complex, and so we kind of need to go about this systematically, right? So when we come up with a plan, what we're going to meditate on, it's sort of like, we're able to get back on track easier when our mind drifts, right? If you just kind of go in here and you're like, just going to see what happens, that's kind of cool, but it might be hard to get back to where you want to be because you don't know where you want to be, right? This is where I really struggled a lot, and even still do sometimes. But having a plan is really important, right? And it doesn't have to be something like monumental. If you're like, I just want to focus on my breath for 30 seconds to relax, boom, plan, all right? And if you notice that you're no longer focusing on your breath, guess what? You're like, this is not my plan. I'm going to go back to focusing on my breath. This is also sometimes referred to as setting an intention. Maybe you've heard like people like, set an intention for the day. Intention is like a compass, right? It doesn't mean this is how it's going to go, right? But it's a general guide of where we want our day to go or meditation to go or whatever, right? Sandy, can I use meditation to reduce the pain from Parkinson's and slow my mind down? Yes. So meditation is actually, and when I started, I was very skeptical about this. I'll admit that. But meditation is actually quite good for chronic pain. A lot of people that I've been formally training and teaching for a long time, and a lot of people get into meditation to deal with chronic pain. It's a common entry point, and we'll kind of go over, and I'll try to make a point to revisit this of why it can be helpful for chronic pain. Is it okay to meditate sitting in bed? Absolutely. Yeah, we'll talk about that too. The goal here is to, first and foremost, just be comfortable, right? Now, if you're starting to like doze, getting some Z's, then maybe try to sit up a little bit or something, because meditation is not really designed to make us go to sleep. We might be really relaxed and get tired, and that's like not a bad thing. But meditation is about kind of actively learning and investigating something. So if you're finding yourself getting sleepy, just maybe try to sit up a little bit, but you can be in bed, be anywhere. It doesn't matter. It's one of the benefits of it, right? Does plan make sense? Maybe that's like pretty self-explanatory. We don't have to spend a lot of time on that. But it's just, you might find yourself not doing it, and it's important to do it. Take it from me. I spent a long time not doing it. Okay, so we've made our plan, right? And now the next thing we want to do is we want to relax. And this is probably why you're here. You want to relax. You want to be more calm. You want to kind of clear your mind, all of these wonderful things, right? This is the spot right here. Right? This is the main focus of new meditators, right? So if you think for a second of like, if we're going to run like a race, like a 5K or something, right? For me, that's kind of ambitious. But I live in Colorado, and literally everyone around here, I think, can run 5K, so except me. Let's say you're going to run a race, right? And you're trying to like get a good time in the race, right? What are you going to do? You're going to kind of prepare a little bit, right? You're going to get a good night's sleep. Maybe you're going to eat a nice breakfast. You're going to hydrate. You're going to stretch. You're going to do all these things that will give you the best chance of having a good time in the race, like performing well. Maybe you'll have a fun too, good time. But you're like setting yourself up to have a good experience. Having a relaxed mind sets yourself up to have a good experience in pretty much everything that you do, right? This is why the relaxation part of meditation is so important, right? When your mind is not relaxed, it's not thinking very clearly. You're starting to panic, right? It's not very focused, right? And so if we're trying to use meditation to like learn about something, gain insight in something, we want to set ourselves up to do that by relaxing our mind first. We want to give ourselves the best opportunity to gain insight on something, right? So we want to relax our mind. And the way we're going to do this is through something that's more formally called, how do we get to relax? We're going to do that right now. We're going to go over exactly how we relax our mind with meditation. It's called single-pointed concentration. Very fancy little phrase there. And what that means is focusing on one thing, right? Not multitasking, which generally, even when we like sometimes we're like purposely multitasking, but even when we're not purposely multitasking, our mind is multitasking. Our mind is always jumping from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. And it might be good for getting some of our tasks done, right? Maybe our work tasks, but it's not very good for staying calm and peaceful, right? Maybe you've noticed that when you're like trying to do a million things at once, you don't seem very calm or peaceful, right? So with meditation, with relaxing with meditation, we're going to focus on one thing. We're going to focus on one thing so exclusively that other things start to kind of fade into the background, right? Like if you've ever been in the zone, you know, that kind of cliche phrase, working on a project or something like that, and you lose track of time, or you don't hear someone calling your name, or you don't hear some of the noises, right? What's happening there is you're so plugged into something, so single-pointedly focused on your project, that the other distractions that are normally like there and you're very attuned to are kind of not there. Now, somebody asked about chronic pain. This is the same concept, right? So we're going to kind of focus so much on our breath that we might start to find that some of the things that are normally very chronic to us just kind of fade into the background, even just a little bit, even just momentarily, right? But even if we can do this momentarily, we can expand upon it, right? So we use our breath. I kind of alluded to that, right? Breathing meditation. Maybe you've heard of that. We use our breath because it's very easy to identify, right? If I was like, pay attention to your breath, you're like, breathing. You're like, okay, got it. Maybe you're drift after a little while, but you can generally like pay attention to your breath. You know, you can find your breath essentially. And it's a very good tool to have because you have your breath always, right? So our goal here is not just to, you know, carve aside 5 minutes or so each day to do this. We want to be able to rely on some of the meditation techniques that we're going to talk about when we need them, right? Right. And so if we always have our breath, we always have that way of relaxing ourselves a little bit, right? We don't need to retreat to a mountain or have like a Zen garden that we sit in or like perfect silence. Like you're never going to have these things, at least like commonly. So just getting used to doing this with your breath is very good method for relaxing. Okay, so we're going to do a breathing meditation now. And from like an instructional standpoint, it's pretty simple. We're just going to focus on our breath and the sensations of our breath. I'm going to guide us. You just kind of listen to what I'm saying. And then when you notice that your attention has gone away from focusing on your breath, you're going to bring it back, right? So our plan, step one, our plan is relaxing. Step two, yes. Step one is plan. So our plan is, for now, we're going to do a breathing meditation, right? For like 5 minutes. That's our plan. Step two is relax. That's what we're going to do with our breathing meditation right now. Okay? Sound good? So if you're sitting in a chair, wonderful. If you're lying down, that's fine. It's all good. Doesn't matter. Sitting on a cushion, everything's fine. I'm in a chair. Doesn't matter. I bounce around. And you can go ahead and close your eyes and just kind of follow along with what I'm saying. We're going to do about a 5-minute breathing meditation. Okay? So when we start a meditation, the first thing we always do is check in with ourselves. How are you feeling right now? Happy, sad, tired? Whatever it is, doesn't matter. All that matters is you notice. Notice what your mind is doing. This is called mindfulness. Maybe you've heard that word before. Mindfulness is being able to notice what your mind is doing moment to moment so you can skillfully react. So just take note of how your mind feels in this moment. And having checked in, you can now turn your full attention to your breathing in and out of your nose, very gently, very naturally. You do not need to take big, deep breaths or forcefully exhale. Just breathe normally in and out. And see if you can follow each breath. Stay with your full in-breath and your full out-breath. Breathing in and out. Very gently, very naturally. Allow yourself to relax. You deserve it. And maybe at some point you notice your attention is no longer exclusively on your breath. Maybe it's thinking about something that happened earlier in the day or something coming up later. Whenever you notice this, just gently guide your attention back to following your full breath in and your full breath out. In and out, very gently, very naturally. Feel yourself relaxing, enjoying breathing. Keep bringing your attention back to your breath whenever it drifts. This is meditation. You are meditating. You are training your mind to relax, to be calm, to become familiar with being peaceful. How wonderful. So just continue breathing in and out very naturally for a little while longer. Okay, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. How did that go? A lot of first timers here. Anyone willing to share how that went? All answers are correct. Maybe it was tough. No reason why it wouldn't be. We're not really familiar doing this. I don't know about you, but I don't really take a lot of time to kind of just sit here and focus on our breathing and be okay with that. Oh, lovely. Wonderful. Not too bad. Good. Okay, good. Almost fell asleep. Happens. Look, it's not the worst thing in the world, right? You fall asleep because you're like getting a little relaxed, right? So that's something, you feel a little sleepy. That's very common, right? What I would say is if maybe that's your goal, you want to help. Some people use this to help you go to sleep, so that's good. Check your posture a little bit. Sometimes you're feeling sleepy, sometimes that'll help. Quite relaxing. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. So even if you found this to be difficult, like staying with your focused on your breathing, it's very common, right? Because this is not familiar to us. There's that word, familiarization. We'll hear that a lot today. I feel calm. Wonderful. Yes. Listen to you to come back to the breathing. Beautiful. Wonderful. It's very natural for our mind to drift, right? The kind of technique of meditation isn't like preventing that. It's like noticing when that happens and being able to come back, right? It's not really preventing that. You can't really prevent your mind from occasionally drifting. But through time, this will get easier to be able to stay on your breath longer. But like, I'm glad. It sounds like most people had a good experience. But if you found this difficult, which is a common thing, people say like, my mind seems busier. Really, you're kind of noticing how busy your mind actually is all day long, which feels exhausting to think about, right? Imagine you just bouncing back and forth all day long. It's kind of why you feel mentally exhausted. So this is a really good way to train our mind to be able to relax, right? By doing, and that was like, what, 5 minutes? You could do less too if you don't have 5 minutes in the morning. It doesn't matter how long it is. Just try to do something like regularly, like a routine. And just focus on your breathing, right? And then bring your attention back when it drifts. That's breathing meditation. Like I said, it's instructionally quite simple. And over time, you're going to find that this gets easier. You're able to stay on your breath longer. You're going to be able to relax easier and more, I guess, more potent relaxation. Good so far? I hope so. Okay, so great. We relax. This is a very key step, right? Very, very important. But meditation can offer more than just relaxation. Meditation is a learning tool. It's like I said earlier, it's a technique of becoming familiar with something, like choosing where you want your mind to be, what you want your mind to focus on. So really, what we want to do is we want to calm our mind and then use that calm mind productively, right? So like if you think for a second, let's say you're on a nice nature walk and you come across a beautiful still lake, very calm and tranquil. The sleep is because I was able to slow my brain. By this time at night, I'm exhausted. Very good. This is good. That's exactly what you want. Just to slow down a little bit, focus, and relax. Very good. So you come across this still lake, right? You can see the reflection in the lake very clearly, right? You could describe to me what the reflection is in the lake if I asked you to. Now, if it starts to rain a little bit, then the reflection becomes a little harder to describe, wouldn't you say? And if it starts to like downpour, right? Pouring rain, you might not be able to see the reflection at all. The reflection is not clear anymore, right? So this analogy is like our mind, right? Our mind is normally quite still, quite reasonable and calm and peaceful and relaxed. But all of the like stress and anxiety that's bouncing around in our head all day long, these distractions and thoughts are like raindrops. And they make it hard for us to stay with this relaxed state. They obscure the like reflection, so to speak. So the relaxation part of meditation is clearing away some of these raindrops, which, you know, we focus on a little bit. But then we want to actually look at the reflection. We want to investigate the reflection once we've worked so hard to clear away the raindrops. Does that analogy work for you? So that's this part. We're going to look at the reflection. We're going to look at something. We're going to investigate something. This is formally called contemplation. It's a type of meditation. So what types of things can you contemplate? What types of things, like notifications on your phone? Oh, interesting. Very nice. So what types of things can you contemplate? And actually, notifications on your phone are very distracting. Yeah. Right. It's like internal. It's like notifications in your head, right? Like it's like, oh, be worried about this. Think about this. Oh, I got to do this. Like those boop, 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 boop. It's happening a lot. Not good for being calm. So what types of things can we investigate, meditate on, right? Anything you want, really, right? But in general, we try to focus on focusing on things like patience, right? To try to like tilt the scales in favor of patience as opposed to like getting angry, or thinking about like what types of things bring me joy and happiness, right? And why do those things are they actually bringing me joy? Anxiety is a great one, right? Thinking about why do I get so worried about this particular thing? Sadness, depression, how to handle difficult situations. Pretty much anything you want to look at, you can, right? all we're doing here is we're thinking, but you're doing it with a level of clarity that you might not have had you not taken the time to clear away those raindrops. Better days going to the beach. Ooh, beach. Very relaxing. Right? So this part is all about investigating something, right? Learning. Using your relaxed mind to learn well, right? You learn much better when your mind is calm. Like steps 2 and 3, the relaxation and the investigation, are like they're like a team. They need each other. They're a big old team, right? And this is you can kind of see why they're a team if you think about why. You ever notice how you give such good advice to other people, but like you don't really give very good advice to yourself sometimes? At least I notice that, right? Like if somebody else like has a problem, you're like, oh yeah, you should do this, right? But if it's you, it's like, oh no, I gotta think about no. There's like a lot of ins and a lot of outs here, you know. Part of that, a big part of that, is because when the problem is a little further from you, like somebody else is dealing with it, like a friend or something, your mind is calmer, right? Your mind is not like in panic mode, right? As it is when we're kind of doing that for ourselves. So your mind is calmer, and so you're able to like see the field a little bit more, right? You're able to like get a little wider lens, and it leads to you giving some very good advice, usually. Sometimes. Maybe not always. We don't always give great advice, but generally speaking, we like seem to give better advice because we're a little more calm when we're doing it, right? So that's the team aspect of relaxing and investigating. We want to relax our minds so we're calm and then look at something with this level of calmness so we can gain some insight into it with a level of clarity that we might not normally have. Does that make sense? And this kind of step 3 and 4 are a little more advanced for meditation, but a lot of meditation like apps and like maybe like mindfulness classes and stuff, they kind of really focus on the relaxation part. They don't always get to this, and I think this is actually very important. If you just want to use meditation to relax, go right ahead. It's fantastic. You'll feel great. But if you want to take it a step further, this is also like an avenue that you could use. So hopefully that makes some sense, or at least is intriguing. Like that's kind of the goal right now. Just like, oh, that's interesting to think about. It's kind of logical when we think about it. And all we're saying is that when we think about something with a calm mind, we tend to come to better answers or more clear answers, right? It's not like some out there idea. Okay, so that's step 3, big step. We're going to do that in a little bit. But there is a step 4, and this one is definitely advanced, okay? But it's important too, right? It's familiarization, right? We've kind of brought that word up a lot because it's really important. Meditation and familiarization are essentially synonymous, right? They're the same thing. Meditating is familiarization, right? So if we think about something that we're really familiar with, maybe like driving a car. Like if I was like, get in the car and drive down the street. What's step 3? Step 3 is investigation, right? Plan, relax, investigate, right? We're going to pick something to investigate, an idea, a feeling, anxiety, what makes us happy, anything. There's like a million things we could do. And then step 4 is familiarize, right? So if I was like, oh, drive down the street in the car, you wouldn't really have to think about it, right? You'd be like, okay, and you get in the car and you drive. Like driving is very familiar to your mind. And so you can drive without thinking about it very much, right? Kind of at this point, maybe it's becoming natural, right? So the same, but that really wasn't always the case. Like maybe we've been driving a long time. It's hard to remember the time when driving wasn't very easy or familiar to us, right? But we had to learn where the gas is, where the brake is, where like the mirrors are and all these buttons and everything. It required a lot of attention, right? We couldn't just get in and drive because driving wasn't really as familiar to us as it is now, maybe, right? The same is true for all things in your life, right? So we talked about anger earlier, right? How it seems to be like very easy for us to get angry when like somebody says something we don't like or does something we don't like, and how it's harder to be patient, right? So we're more familiar with getting angry. It seems to start to come natural, like driving. We just kind of do it. We don't really try. But patience, we kind of got to still try it at, right? So we can tilt the scales in the other direction through training, through training in meditation. We can tilt the scales so that our mind becomes more familiar with patience. Maybe it's like even patience and anger, and it's like a 50-50 shot, right? Maybe we can push it a little bit more in the favor of patience, right? Right now it's a little lopsided. Right? So that's what we can do. We can choose what we want to be familiar with, right? Same with anxiety, right? Maybe like a social anxiety. Social anxiety, we're like kind of labeling an upcoming event as negative, right? Generally, we think of things as positive, negative, or neutral. So we can train to maybe start to view this event as neutral. Maybe we don't, maybe it's hard for us to go and look at it as positive, but we can start to tilt the scales a little bit and start to become familiar with identifying this event as like a neutral experience as opposed to negative, right? All these things, these connections, right? Positive, negative, neutral, like level of ease in experiencing them, they come from your mind, right? It's what your mind is familiar with, which is great news because we can train our mind. That's what meditation is. We're training our mind, right? We can train our mind. So when we're investigating something in our meditation, we want to pay attention for what I'll call aha moments. Moments where you're like, aha, well, aptly named. And when we experience these kind of like, interesting, like, right? We want to kind of like stay with that feeling, that like interested feeling, right? And the feeling is different for everyone, right? Whatever you're experiencing in that moment, when you're kind of having these like aha moments, we want to try to just like sit with that and like just kind of like bask in it for a little while, right? So essentially what we're trying to do with our investigation is we're not really trying to familiarize ourselves with like an intellectual conclusion or like just an intellectual conclusion, but rather a unique feeling that you personally experience when you reach this conclusion to the thing that you're investigating. Like the difference between somebody telling you about the Bahamas and you actually experiencing the Bahamas, like different, right? They call it intellectual versus experiential understanding in meditation. Good example is if I was like, describe to me what driving feels like. You'd be like, huh? What do you mean? Describe to me what driving feels like. You probably can't do it, but you know what driving feels like, right? Because you have a vast experiential understanding of driving, right? You know the feeling of driving. You might not be able to put it into words, but you know the feeling of driving, right? So when we're doing our meditation, we're going to do one now, right? We're going to pay attention for any times that we're like, right? And then we're going to kind of sit with that, right? And we're just going to kind of experience that, whatever that feeling is, right? And yes, I know this sounds like a little like esoteric or whatever, because this part is not very familiar to us. Maybe we are kind of familiar with focusing on our breath for a little while, right? This is going to take a little more time to be able to experience in like a consistent way. But for now, we're just going to pay attention to, as I'm talking and guiding us through the meditation, pay attention for any of those like, interesting. Yeah, like that. And then we're going to sit with it. And that's your mind becoming familiar with this resolution that you've had, this aha moment. Your mind is becoming familiar with it. Okay? Does those 4 steps make sense to a reasonable degree? You don't have to be like an expert at it. That's not the goal, right? We're just trying to lay them out. That way, when you're doing this on your own, you can kind of have a formula to work with, right? So if you're ever wondering, am I doing this right? You can go back to like, okay, well, here are the 4 steps. Like, here's what I'm like supposed to be doing. Let me focus on steps 1 and 2 right now. That's what I can handle, right? And then maybe I'll go to the other ones. So hopefully this is helpful or interesting or both. Any questions before we do a what I would consider a full meditation. Plan, relax, investigate, familiarize. This will not be that long. Don't worry. I'll try to keep it under an hour. Not the meditation, the entire session. Okay, so what we're going to, our plan was, let's make a plan. Our plan is that we're going to, remember when I talked about how like the lake being peaceful and like our mind is like normally very peaceful, right? And all the bombardment of thoughts are like raindrops. We're going to investigate if that's true, right? We're going to like try to think about that and see, we're just going to like think about it. We're going to kick it around the old noggin. We're going to investigate, like, is our mind naturally peaceful? Right? That's our investigation. That's our plan. We're going to relax and then we're going to investigate that, right? So we have our plan in place. So if we ever find ourselves like drifting off into what we're going to be cooking for dinner, we can be like, nope, that's not part of the plan. Let's put that aside for a little bit and get back to whatever step we're on. Okay? Sound good? All right. So, once again, we're going to start kind of like we did last time. We're going to sit in a relaxed, comfortable position. If you're laying down, wonderful. If you're on a cushion, great. Chair, doesn't matter. Just relax, okay? We'll do a little breathing meditation to relax our mind, right? Then we're going to investigate something, and we're going to pay attention for those aha moments. Okay. So you can go ahead and close your eyes. Once again, let's just check in with ourselves. How are you feeling now? We're practicing mindfulness. We're checking in, noticing what our mind feels like right now in this moment. So just take note of how you're feeling. And having checked in, you can once again turn your full attention to your breathing in and out of your nose, very gently, very naturally, following each breath in and each breath out. Breathing in and out, very gently, very naturally. Allowing yourself to relax. And just check in with yourself. Has your mind drifted? Your attention on something else? If so, just gently guide it back. Guide your attention back to following each breath in and out. And enjoy each and every breath. As you start to plug into breathing, you may notice some things about breathing that you haven't noticed before, some sensations. Maybe you notice how the air feels cool on the tip of your nose as you breathe in and warmer as you breathe out. Or your shoulders rising and falling with each breath. You're beginning to notice some subtle joys about breathing. You're beginning to enjoy your breath in and out, very gently, very naturally. You are meditating. You are training your mind to relax, to be calm. You're training in happiness. And you're doing it all on your own, with nothing other than your breath. How wonderful. So, maybe you're feeling a little more relaxed, a little more calm, a little lighter, whatever your experience is. You have calmed your mind simply by focusing on your breath. You've cleared away some of the distracting thoughts. And now you can use that calm mind to look at something, to investigate something, to contemplate. So just follow along with what I'm saying and pay attention for any of those aha moments, moments of interest. Your mind is like a messy room. When you clean your room or your home, you often find things that were obscured by the clutter. Your mind is the same way. When we clear our mind of our cluttered thoughts, we find something very interesting, very wonderful about our mind. We find that our mind is calm, that it is naturally peaceful. Meditation does not create peacefulness. Meditation merely reveals what has been there all along, waiting for you to tap into it. Your naturally peaceful mind. It's always there. How wonderful. How wonderful that this is the case, that we are able, simply by focusing on our breathing, to clear away some of these distractions and tap into our calm, peaceful state. We can even say to ourselves, affirm this. My mind is naturally peaceful. I am naturally peaceful. So just kind of sit with that for a little while. Let your mind familiarize itself with this resolution that you at your core are calm and peaceful and kind and wonderful. Allow yourself to experience that. Okay, and when you're ready, you can open up your eyes. How did that go? That is what would be considered traditionally as a full meditation. Okay, so we did a plan. Right? We decided what we're going to focus on. Then we relaxed our mind with breathing meditation, right? Just focusing on our breath, just kind of trying to clear away some of those raindrops, just relax a little bit. And then we investigate something. We use that relaxed mind state to investigate something, right? And in this case, it's a little meta, but we investigated the fact that we were able to do that in the first place. And what does that actually mean? What does it mean that we're able to calm ourselves? What does that mean? It means our mind is naturally calm. We're able to get there, right? It's there waiting for us, right? And then familiarizing yourself with that, just kind of sitting with the feeling, the experience of doing this and coming to that conclusion. And what does that feel like to you? Barb, had to pull myself back a few times. Amazing. So like I said before, the goal is not to never get distracted, right? That is a very lofty goal. The goal is to notice when you are distracted and be able to bring yourself back. So Barb, the way that the fact that you're able to pull yourself back is amazing. Okay? Amazing. That is exactly what you want to be doing and training in. What other things can we focus on besides our breath, art, nature, a loved one? So yeah, so like I said, we focus on breath because it's a very good thing to start with, right? And I do recommend you starting with that if you're new or relatively new to meditation, because it's a very good tool in our tool belt. It's always with us. It's easy to identify, but it's not the only thing that we can focus on, right? You think about running, right? A lot of times people have very meditative experiences running, right? Because they're so focused on their body moving. Yoga is all about focusing on your body movements. That's a form of meditation, right? You're just, instead of focusing exclusively on your breath, you're focusing on movement, right? So you can really focus on anything and meditate on it. So experiment. Joseph, all the things you said, go for it. Try this on that. That's amazing. This is all about experimenting with different things. Maybe one of those things really connects with you, and then that's a very good thing to use. I just had my wisdom teeth removed. It helped take my mind off some of that pain. Amazing. So the chronic pain question, right? And wisdom teeth, right? What you're seeing is you're getting a glimpse into just how powerful your mind is, right? Because if you're able to kind of focus on not that chronic pain, which is granted, it's very difficult because it's chronic. But if you're able to do that, you start to notice that it starts to fade a little bit, right? It starts to fade into the background a little bit. Maybe you don't feel it. Even if you don't feel the wisdom teeth pain for even a second, that's kind of wild that you're able to do that, right? Just with your mind. So you can expand upon that. You can start to become very proficient at doing this, and it, obviously you'll be able to help with that kind of pain for longer periods of time and more easily, or consistently, I should say. But that takeaway is wonderful. Remember that, right? You did that. You did that all on your own, just by breathing. It's pretty cool. Any other questions on anything we talked about? And we did go over a lot, I know. But hopefully this is a good foundation for you to recall upon if you're ever wondering while you're doing your own meditation practice, am I doing this right? That's a very common question. I got nerve damage and I need back surgery, and it took my mind off the pain in my left leg. Beautiful. This is exactly where you want to be, right? So remember that you were able to do this, because this is very important. you have to believe that you're able to do this, right? So like you had an experience of even doing this for a very brief amount of time, but you're able to do it. So when you kind of understand that you can do this, what happens is you naturally want to train in it, right? You put natural effort into wanting to get better at doing this so you can help your chronic pain or whatever you're trying to do more, right? More consistently. So that's a really good takeaway, and continue with this, and that will only improve, right? Now, some days are going to be better than others. Some days your mind's going to be all over the place, and that's okay. Just being here and meditating that's the battle, right? Just that's training. Not every time is going to be really easy, but just being here is really important. If you have trouble focusing on your breath, try counting out your breaths. Yes, Crystal, thank you. It's a great reminder. So there's a variation of breathing meditation called counting meditation, where you're counting your breath. So it's like you're in and out, and then you're saying in your head 1, and then in and out 2, right? This is very good if you're very anxious or you're having trouble focusing. It's like giving your mind a job to help focus it. So you're like kind of counting your breaths instead of just focusing on the sensations of breathing. Kristen, great class, Keith. Thank you. Oh, Kathy, thank you. Thank you. It's very kind of you to say. Appreciate that. First time experience was great. Thank you so much. Karen, it's wonderful to hear that. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you everyone for being here. I could not do this without you guys taking time out of your day to be here. So I really do appreciate that. And if you did have a good experience, definitely come back. We do this every Wednesday, except next Wednesday, I will not be here because I am moving. But the following Wednesday, provided there's no like internet crisis, we will do another meditation class on a different topic. And you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. It'll let you know when I'm going live in case you forget. Hopefully I don't forget, but in case you forget, it'll let you know. And it's also very helpful to me for the weird YouTube algorithm. And I also do private instruction. So if you're like, man, this is cool, and you want to do some private instruction, just email me. I'll put my email in the chat right now, and we'll find we'll find a way to make that happen for you. Typing. One-on-one classes is very good for focusing on something specific to you. And I also do like work and corporate events if you're interested in that. Just email me. Let me catch up here. First time as well. Enjoyed it. Great. That's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that. It's like my favorite thing to hear. Where am I moving to? Still in Colorado. Yes. Just a little more west, about 20 minutes west of where I am now. Thank you for coming. I really do appreciate it. Wonderful first experience. Great. I hope that continues for you. It's a really cool. Meditation is very cool. It's very empowering. Wonderful. Keith, you're rad. Oh, incredible. Thanks, Zoe. Thank you for a great class. I had a great time here. Joseph, thank you as well. Have a good time moving. Take deep breaths. Yes, thank you. I'm gonna need to train and relaxation for the old new house there. So thank you guys. Have a great week, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Okay. All right. Take care.